It all just feels so tiring, doesn't it? When you think about it, like even the other day I was watching some new GPT model, whatever, image video creation that allows you to create essentially fake reviews for products with a fake person showing a product that is fake. And they were claiming that, oh, now you can do drop shipping better with this. And I was like, what's, you're just selling trash using fake images. It's all fake. Then you see this, and then you see people selling, courses about how to do things like this. And you see, I even saw this, like these looks maxers guys that are just worried about, in my opinion, the dumbest things imaginable. You're just overly obsessive about your image, and it seems everywhere you look that you're just confronted with these things that fundamentally, and I'll get right to the point, feel very fake, and they don't have any substance behind them. They're not meant with a bigger aim in mind beyond what the individual profits from them. And as you're scrolling, you're just there and you're like, this is, I don't like this. It feels almost exhausting to do this. Now, to it, you could say, well, you can just stop scrolling, can't you? But I don't want to stop scrolling. I it's not saying that it's good, but I do want to scroll, but I want to see, I don't know, the cringe posts my parents put, or I want to see some random guy doing a hike, and I want to see some Call of Duty trick shot montage. I want to see things that are a bit rough around the edges and that have a realness to them, how it was in the beginning. If you remember, if you're old enough to be, when Facebook began or Instagram or these things, and you really just saw what your friends put and your family and whatnot, it was so different. It was really, it wasn't about this content that is about rage baiting or just overly using lust, or that is, or things like Mr. Beast that is overly optimized. Not at all. You would go on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it may be, and it was real people doing real things, and the pace was slower, and there was a bit more art to it, and the jokes were not as fake, and these scenarios were not as fake, and there was something there. And I got thinking about this, and I think it goes much deeper than just content. Of course, I think beyond content, because content is just a weak form of art, essentially. It's, when we think about movies or TV shows or, music, these types of things, I think they have suffered the same fate as well, which is you look at them and they just feel, fundamentally, they feel shallow a lot of times. And this is why so often you see them just going back and doing remakes and going, bringing actors and actresses from the past that they still have this credibility to them from when things felt good and felt real. And you can even observe this. For example, I recently started watching Neon Genesis Evangelion, an old school anime. And going even a bit deeper, you see this and you feel it, how different it is when you're seeing something that fundamentally is created from a real interaction with the world. What I mean by that is that, and I don't want to take anything from, if you do things digitally, if you're creating digital things and you have a love for your craft and whatnot, of course not. But even there's a clear difference when you see, in this case, an anime that was done digitally and, not painted, drawn, painted, animated digitally, and one that was not. Because when you look at one of these older ones, and they were actually drawn on paper and they had to paint it, and it was like, it was real. You do feel something different when you know that there's a certain shaping of the world happening, that as the pencil draws, it starts to disappear, and as the paper is drawn on, there's a crease left there that will never disappear. And there's something about it, and the more that we stray from it, I do believe, the more we crave it and the more we need it. Because, and I know I'm talking about art here fundamentally, but I think it extends to all facets of life. Even if you're doing a job that's very technical, some engineering type of thing, but you feel like there's no passion behind it. There's no vision behind it. It's all very hollow and all very the same cookie cutter designs and whatnot, you're also going to be like, what's the point of this? I don't, it's not what I want to do. It's not what we need. It's not the point fundamentally. And I was thinking as well about this deeper because I had a flight and I was next to this very overweight man that as soon as the flight departed, he was snoring and his fat was leaking onto my side, and it was just very uncomfortable. You know, you try to hold your place, but you know when someone double the size is literally falling on top of you, it's hard to think about anything other than that. But it was funny because this was a flight from China, and on above the window they had, in every window they had a quote. I think they were different, but in mine it said, it was something along the lines of, "The gentleman is harmonious, but not conformable, while the petty man or the fool is conformable, but is not harmonious." And this got me thinking, and I think this is where also looking at the side of things about what can one do about this, or how do you deal with these frustrations? Because I don't think I'm the only one that feels this. I think, you know, if perhaps you feel the same way, and if more people really thought about it, they would be more upset, because it's more serious, in my opinion, than what it seems a lot of times. But as I saw this quote and I was there thinking, nothing else to do on the flight, and then thinking more about it. And I think in that quote, it explains the best way one can go about it. Because when you see the people that are the most conflictuous and the most harming to society, not most, but kind of in that mid-range, they're very conformable. They just, they follow the script that was done for them, and they go to the job they have to do, and they never really stray out of those lines on what they actually have control. But then these are the ones that go ahead and get super upset about the news and the government, and they're like screaming at their TV, and maybe outside they're getting upset at everyone. And they're bringing a lack of harmony around them, but they are conforming fundamentally. Within their molds, they're just kind of screaming about, but they're still conforming. Well, the better way to go about it is you are harmonious in society, and not only are you not screaming at people and getting upset, you're the opposite. You're, if possible, smiling at people and chit-chatting and, being a pleasant person to be around. But you are not conforming. And deep inside you, you know the things that are wrong, and you know you don't accept them. And when one goes about it life in this way, and that you're not having these outbursts in public, but you're not conforming, well, how does this frustration come out, and how does one deal with these things? Well, I think when one approaches life that way, then these get channeled, and they have to. And so in a lot of ways, they become more powerful, but they go into things that actually matter, into things you create, whether that's music or movies or paintings, whatever, or like me, I'm just yapping to a camera, whatever it may be, it gets channeled toward that. And in that manner, it really forces you to do something more productive with those emotions, more than getting angry at people you shouldn't get angry at and screaming at things you shouldn't scream at. No, you actually channel them and allow yourself to create, to whatever degree of talent you have, what is yours to create. Because if you think about it, perhaps, if you think about the best pieces of art that exist, whether that's in the form of a painting, of a song, of a movie, they always need a good enough reason behind them to exist. They're not done just about nothing. I was even reading in A Brave New World where one of the guys that he's grown, there's a sense of growing frustration and emptiness inside him, because he says, yeah, I write very well, and I know all these things about how to write well, but I feel like I'm writing about things that don't matter. There needs to be a good reason to write and to sing and to paint and to do. And so let us, and I say this to the camera, to you as much as I say to myself, let us not even get upset that we feel this way. Let us take these feelings and channel them correctly. Because one that channels these correctly has a much more harmonious existence too. Because you know that, yeah, I get upset at this and frustrated, but I have my outlet. I have this thing that is actually, if done well, will benefit those that interact with it too. And I can pour it out all there. And I don't need to be a conflictuous person. I don't need to be here around, causing problems when problems shouldn't exist. But I actually, and this I think it really applies, that you have a much, much higher chance of actually making a change when you create something with these emotions and these feelings and these thoughts than when you just yap them to the air and when you just argue with people. That really does nothing. How often did you really change your opinion, your view of life, arguing with someone and being defensive? Very few times. But how many did you do after watching a good piece of art, a painting, a movie, a song that hit you at the right time? It is much more likely. So I think we're wise to go about it in this way, being harmonious but never conform.